What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the remote front office. Today we are discussing the Jrue Holiday trade that happened yesterday. Finally went through, but before we get into that, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn notification bells on. We are Monday, Wednesday, Friday around here, breaking down NBA news, and then here in the next week or two, we will start getting into predictions as far as MVPs, standings, etc., etc., etc. Right? Today, as I said earlier, we are discussing the Jrue Holiday to the Boston Celtics trade. If you guys saw the video Friday, we had learned that not Chris Paul, Dame Lillard had been traded, and everybody was discussing possible Jrue Holiday destinations. I did mention the Celtics in that video. Granted, I think I mentioned about half the contenders in the NBA in that video. But Jrue Holiday is now a Boston Celtic. They gave up more and gave up less at the same time than what I thought they would, right? We knew the salaries had to work, and it turns out Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, Golden State first from this year that Boston got in the Memphis deal, a 2029 unprotected Boston first is now going to the Blazers, and then the Celtics get Jrue Holiday. Let's start with the Blazers side of this, right? I like the deal. I understand the deal. The one thing I will say is it seems like they did this to keep Robert Williams, but Brogdon is on the board. So again, a lot of teams that we've been talking about for Jrue, a lot of teams we've talked about for Dame, essentially really anybody that needs point guard depth, right? That is where we're at this point. So I don't know if Miami would do this deal. I feel like it's kind of just a lateral move. But I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing the Clippers rumors again. Because I think at this point, Portland is just wanting the picks rather than the players attached, as long as their salary is going to expire at the end of the year. I don't think they care as much. I would be curious if they're able to finagle this maybe into some sort of Philly deal. I don't really know exactly what I see there. I feel like the asking price is a little too low just for what Philly has on the board right now, right? You're not going to take on James Harden. You're obviously not going to get Tyrese Maxey and a Malcolm Brogdon deal. So I think they're kind of off the board. But I do not picture Brogdon being on this team for very long. Portland has said it time and time again that they are dedicated to the young core of guards that they have on this roster. Um, I kind of was curious the direction they were going to go with the Jrue Holiday trade because initially the rumors were that it was going to be more of a picks-based package um, because obviously they're not competing for anything right now, right? And I kind of figured, obviously, with Ayton on the team and Anthony Simons and guys like that, Jeremy Grant, you do have some sort of a floor as far as where you're going to place. I don't think this team will be last in the West. I don't think this team will be last in the league. But I do just think that maybe they would have gone more of a pick-heavy package and less for guys that can play right away, right? So as of right now, I would assume the starting lineup is Scoot, Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, and then Ayton is probably playing power forward, and then Robert Williams. I could also see a lineup where they bench Robert Williams, but there was the rumors a couple of years ago, kind of similar to Anthony Davis, that DeAndre Ayton wished to play more power forward and less center. That's what he played in college at times, and I think for whatever reason, it's been his preference for a while now. I wouldn't be surprised. My one concern with that is that um, Robert Williams isn't the cleanest bill of health, right? Neither is Malcolm Brogdon. That's kind of why I assume they'll move on from him. But obviously, Aiden's going to end up playing a lot more center than anything else. Now for the Boston side of this, right? Let's discuss Boston. I knew Brogdon was in the deal. I think that was the most for sure part of this trade package, right? Because he was in the initial Porzingis deal, and it seemed like the front office and him had kind of reached a mutual parting of ways at this point, just because of the fact that they were already been trying to get traded. That trade fell through, and it just seems like they weren't overly excited to bring him back. He's a good player. I just think the health issues for him were kind of a bigger concern than this team let on. Obviously, is why his medicals didn't clear for the Clippers, but he was a good part for this team, right? He made sense. Spacing, defense. This does help as far as the defensive identity that the Celtics lost with the Marcus Smart trade. Now that Jrue Holiday is there, it makes a lot more sense for me. The one thing I will say is I feel like your depth that was your strength the last couple of years is now gone, right? Because you lost Marcus Smart, you've lost Grant Williams, you lost Robert Williams, you've lost just like the core part of this rotation and the core part of the identity of this team is now gone. Personally, I don't think Danny Ainge would have made this move if he was in charge still over there, if he wasn't running Utah. Um, but I think Brad Stevens has made it a point. He likes certain guys, and he wants to win now, right? He's starting to move this roster, whereas Danny Ainge would stall and kind of go for a big swing here, stall a little bit, go for another big swing. But I like it. I mean, the fact you're going to have a closing lineup of Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Porzingis. I love that closing lineup. Defense, versatile, spacing. I mean, personally, nobody's going to want to try and score on Boston in those closing lineups. I mean, pretty much all those guys besides Porzingis, I trust to switch pretty frequently. And as long as Porzingis stays healthy again, you have the spacing. The other issue with this is your center position's looking a little weak now. I was nervous about that spot with Robert Williams and Porzingis just due to both of their histories medical-wise. You are now putting Al Horford in kind of a bad spot at a 36-year-old player. Rumors have already been swirling of they're going to start bringing in centers. I know they did sign Wenyen Gabriel. Don't know if that's a long-term solution or maybe that's a training camp solution. We'll see. But he did have at least some solid time with the Lakers last year. But, I mean, I think for the asking price, you have your star players wrapped up for quite a long time, so I don't think the 2029 pick's as big of a concern. The 2024 Golden State pick's interesting because it is top 3. But I think, I mean, it wasn't your own pick, so essentially you gave up one of your own picks and 2 guys that weren't in your top 3, right, as far as valuable players on this team. And you bring in one of the best defensive guards in the league. And you're asking Jrue to handle the ball a lot less. The one thing I will say is I don't know if I want Jrue as the constant initiator, right? I prefer Jrue off ball. I prefer more as a secondary ball handler. So I still think this team has the issue of a primary ball handler. Don't get me wrong, Derek White's okay at it. But I mean, I feel like this is now putting the ball in Tatum's hands a lot more as far as forcing him to become that game in, game out initiator, right? But that's my thoughts. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this trade down below. And let me know your Malcolm Brogdon destinations. I'm sure that video will probably be coming out over the next week or two. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.